Good evening. This is Mark Miller, and this is Monday evening Career Pivot office hours. We're here every Monday night. This will be the last office hours for a couple months. We're going to take a hiatus in July and August and probably come back after Labor Day, partially because I'm going to be on vacation. And Elizabeth, who's not here tonight, she's at a niece's wedding. So, and last week we kind of blew up, and so we're actually talking about strategic networking. And I'm going to go ahead and drop a link into the office hours. Okay. So the key piece here is, there we are, is it's all about strategic networking. And the thing you have to remember about strategic networking is this is about who you know and make sure that you know the right people. So the topic of strategic network, building your tribe, the first thing I want to do is define what's a tribe. And in the blog post that I put up there, I talk about there is something called the Dunbar number. Back many years ago, a evolutionary psychologist, Robin Dunbar, came up with, had to do with sending out Christmas cards or whatever, and it came up with the average Christmas card list was 150 people. Now, we can go look at various different things in history, and things like, by the way, monkey groups maxed out at 150. Amish churches, they break them up at 150. You can have about 150 relationships in your life, and that's about it. And the idea behind a tribe is these are the people that you can go and ask for a favor and expect a positive result. In other words, these aren't just any people. They're people you know. You have a relationship that you feel comfortable with being able to go ask for a favor. And so the first thing is, we have this concept of a tribe, and then again, the typical size of this tribe is typically going to be 70 to 150 people. And if you think it's larger than that, it probably isn't. So one of the things I want to talk about is what are the components of your tribe? And I break this down into 4 primary pieces. Number 1, connectors. These are people who know people and are willing to introduce you to others. Now, you want a certain number of connectors in your network. So one of the things I'm going to ask you to do after this, watching this, is go about looking and analyzing your tribe. And do you have enough connectors? I wrote previously, there was a Harvard Business Review podcast. And one of the things they talked about was making sure you have enough connectors, and 2, that you do not overuse them. Now, these are people who know people and like introducing. I'm a connector. I have a very large network, and I enjoy introducing people. The second piece is mentors. And in my career, put it bluntly, I never sought out mentors in my career. It was not something I ever did. I now have multiple mentors that help me in different parts of my business. And some of these I pay, most I do not. I have a formal mentoring relationship with them. Now, whether it's a formal or informal or a paid mentoring relationship, you want multiples of them. You want mentors, I claim, as it relates to generational. In other words, you want people who are much younger than you, who can help you essentially deal with the kids. Two, you want professionals in your sphere, in the industry you're in, and also skill-based mentors. I'll use an example. I just started putting ads on my website. And I asked around and I found someone who's willing to mentor me on getting ads up on my site. And I've learned a lot from this gentleman. And he's just doing it because it makes him feel good. And this is a fairly, he spent a couple hours looking at my website. He kind of gave me some direction. I've gone off and done it. And now we're just kind of periodically trading emails back and forth. The other one is you want to have company and industry experts. One of the things I learned as a very young man when I was working for IBM was to seek out those people within my area who really knew what they were doing and were nice. They weren't jerks. And use them. And I didn't really ever use them in a mentoring relationship. I wish I had, and maintained that relationship. But it's these people are very good to have in your network. The last is peers. You want to have peers in your network, people who are like you and where you can help one another. So your tribe is made up of connectors, mentors, industry experts, and peers. So one of the things I'm going to ask you when we're done here is for you to go off and analyze who's in your network. Who do you feel comfortable asking for favors? And then start looking at growing your tribe. So how do you go about grow your tribe? One, this is simply getting on LinkedIn and start going, okay, what don't I have enough of? So I'll use an example. When I started Career Pivot, one of the things I realized is I really didn't have enough salespeople in Austin. Because initially most of my clientele were all here in Austin. That's not true anymore. My clientele are all over the world now. But at the time, I needed some salespeople to help me help my clients network. And I really had very few salespeople that were here in Austin. So I strategically started going about building that piece. And the way I did it was, number one, took the existing salespeople I knew and asked for referrals. I also look at companies where I wanted referrals, and strategically looked on LinkedIn and started reaching out to people. And slowly but surely and methodically grew my network. So the idea here is take a moment and look at what's in your network, who's in your tribe, and then what do you need more of? And then strategically get out either from face-to-face or on the phone, start cultivating, getting introductions and cultivating relationships. It's nothing more complicated than that. The key piece here is looking at what does your network look like? Because the key piece, your next job, particularly those of us who are a little bit older, your next job almost entirely will come through a relationship. And so it's building those relationships. So with that, does anybody have any questions out there? Stan, do you want to pop in and I'll unlock the seat and have a comment on that? We've got a few stalkers out there. So let Stan in.
There I am. You see me
Hey,
yet?
yep, I see you.
Yeah. Yes, I do have some comments on that. I've been ruminating about that for the last couple of weeks. I belong to two networking groups, jobs type networking groups, but they both went away. One was an outfit called Learn for Louisville Executive Resource Network,
Yep.
and it's a long, sad story about that one. And the other one was a church group at Southeast Christian Church. And we're a large church, got a lot of congregates, and the group was it was big. We'd get 25, 30, maybe 35 at the weekly meetings, and that fell apart too. People stopped going for a variety of different reasons. Some of them well-founded, and others I don't really know. So anyway, I miss that. There's two or three people who I keep in contact with regularly. They're people like me, and we try to help one another out, but it's tough not having a more or less formal group of some sort.
Well, but you're going to a bunch of meetup groups right now.
Right.
That you are going to, and they're very strategic.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
You're there to meet specific people.
Okay.
Right. And that's and so it's seeking out those groups that that in your case they're capable of either hiring you or referring you. Right.
Right.
And you're building some nice relationships at those meetup groups.
I hope so.
Yeah, you're gonna do that. You're a nice guy. People like you.
All right.
And the idea is to very, those meetup groups are really good because they're going to these groups for a very specific reason. There's something that binds them. I mean, I belong to a couple of meetup groups here in town, in Austin. The one is my Austin Business Owners Meetup. All small business owners. We have something in common. What's the meetup group you're attending in Louisville? The data. I don't remember the name.
Predictive analytics.
Yes, people are there that have a very specific interest.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And that's where it won't happen overnight. But if you're consistent about cultivating this relationship, and it's harder with groups like that because they're a bunch of introverts.
True.
They're geeks, right?
Right.
Over time, you will cultivate those relationships, and it'll pan out. But it's a matter of just simply being very strategic with it. And working it, almost working it like a job.
All right. I'll make a note of that.
So it's and I'm going to pop a book into the. I'm going to pop a book. I've been listening to this. I listen to books. Let me do this. And oops, let me pop it in the message. Paste. See if it, and I'm also going to X out this. I'm going to pop this in here. See if it does anything. Yeah. I've liked this. It's strategic relationships at work.
Okay.
It's much more tailored to the younger folks. Okay. I should say earlier in their career, but because a lot of us are going to work a long time. And one of the things the author talks about is being very strategic in building relationships and building mentorships. And she talks about developmental mentorships. And this is where I came up with the idea of different kinds of mentors. and particularly those of us a little bit older, is having mentors who are much younger than us.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
That that you can say, okay, I'll use the example. My last corporate gig, I was at Life Size Communications. I did really well with the young IT guys. I did horribly with the really young marketing gals. God, I did not click. In fact, I offended several of them, and he was kind of like, wow. And I just learned to stay away from it. And I we've been nice to understand why, but the young IT guys, my young technical folks, I got along with very well.
Mm-hmm.
The young, predominantly female marketing. I said I pissed a couple of them off. I had one young lady when she left. I said, she was going to another job. I hope you're happier in your new job. And she went, I wasn't unhappy. I said, I just,
right.
like, wow, your body language exuded you were unhappy. I mean, she had this miserable look on her face most of the time. And a lot of that was because her office was freezing cold. But she wasn't happy. I never once saw her smile until she was leaving. And so, I learned, don't say things like that to those people. So is to have multiple different kinds of mentoring relationships. Most of us think of it as professional. I need, in your case, you would like a Tableau mentor, or someone has R experience to mentor you. But it's also, just like you and our relationship, helping you, guide you through some of this career stuff. Probably having someone much younger than you who, if you have to deal with a bunch of young developers, what's the right way of doing it? And having multiple kinds of mentoring relationships that are in your network. And the one thing that a lot of people don't have is having enough connectors in their network. I.e. people who just know people. And I've been very fortunate. I had, in the last few years, I've had a couple of them who, they just know a lot of people. And most of them are salespeople. And they just know a lot of people. It's nothing more than that. So we are at about 20 minutes, so I'm going to shut this thing down. Okay. I want to thank everyone. We've been doing this for about 6 months. I will probably turn this into a podcast starting in September. My plan is to kind of still do a little bit of the office hours, where I will probably do a session like this every other week. And I am rounding up people who have made successful career pivots to be interviewed. And lastly is I have a variety of professionals I want to bring on that will be, we'll do two kinds of interviews. One being people who successfully made pivots, and two, people who are professionals like me who are in the industry and can have different perspectives. And we'll do some of this on Blab, and some of it we'll do otherwise. We'll figure that out. I haven't quite figured how I'm going to do it, but we'll start in September. So with that, if you're watching this on YouTube, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever is appropriate. If you're seeing this on my website in a blog post, please give me a comment. The post today that went out on Monday, I guess it was June 27th. It is, June 27th. Documents the problems we've had with office hours. And I'd love you to take the survey. So with that, thank you very much, and we'll look for you back in just a few months after the Labor Day weekend.